Hi. Well, it's another beautiful day, as always, though it's cold. And today I want to talk about a question that I got. And it's about trauma and the pain and bad memories that come with it. So, that's what I want to talk about today. Now, the thing about trauma is that it's a memory of trauma. Okay? And what that means is it's not happening now. I know it's hard to realize when the trauma memory hits you and you get all these emotions about it and you feel a lot of pain about what happened in the past. It's just a memory. And it's the memory triggers the emotions. Okay? And that's why it's painful. But it doesn't have to be painful because what you have to do is face the trauma. I know that's a hard thing to do, but that is what must be because you have to accept what is. If you want to move on through the spiritual path, you have to accept what is, and the trauma is part of the isness of you. Okay, and so that means letting go of the memory. Okay, now I'm not saying we forget the memory. I'm sure we can't forget it, but letting go of it being us. That memory is not who you are. It's got nothing to do with who you are. You just think that's you. Now, I know you probably think, oh, I don't think that memory is me, but you know what? You do. That's just the way it is. Okay? And so, what we want to try and understand is that when we think of these memories in our heads, we're thinking it's us. Okay? But it's not us. Number one, the memory happened a long time ago. You're not the same person. Okay? You're not the same person. And that is just the way it is. Okay? Physically, billions of atoms have passed through your body, so it's not the same body. Okay? And we think it's the same body, but it's not. Okay? Every single part of you has been replaced. That's just the way it is. And the only thing that makes it the same body is you make it the same body. Okay? Because you have a timeline, okay? And you are continuous throughout. So when you were 19 and you got raped or whatever it is, you think that's you now. You think that is a part of who you are. You have made it a part of who you are because that's what the ego helps us do. Okay? The ego is all about making things a part of who you are so it can feel bigger. And if those things are bad, it doesn't care. Okay? So that's all there is to it. Okay? But if we just look at what happened, okay? Look at it logically, okay? It happened when you were 19, okay? And, or whatever age. And you were a completely different person. And not just your body, but the person, okay? Because the person changes every day. Every morning when you wake up, you're a new person, okay? I know we don't think that. We think we're the same person we were back in, whenever, okay? But that's just not the way it is. It's an illusion. It's called the illusion of permanence. It doesn't exist. There is no permanence in this life. We think there is, okay? And that's something we have to accept that that's what we're thinking. But it's not true. Okay? So, we have to face the trauma, okay? Not as a judging, overthinking person, but as awareness. You are awareness. That is who you are. But aside from everything else, awareness is who you are. You can't be a person unless you have awareness, unless you are awareness, okay? And you cannot be anything without this awareness. Awareness is being, okay? That's who you are. And if you think that you're this other thing, this person that is constantly changing over time, that's what it's doing, okay? Then you're going to be unhappy, okay? The you that was born isn't the you now. The you that was born isn't the you when you were 15. Okay? Completely different thing. We think it is. We think it's part of what makes us who we are, but it's a lie, an illusion. Okay? So this thing that happened didn't happen to you. It happened to that person, the person that lived then. In a way, every now is a new you. Okay? I know it's crazy to think of it like that, but that's what it is. Every time you go into the now, you are reborn. Okay? And you're in the now, new. The now never changes. The now is always there for you. Okay? So what is the now? The now is the state at which you can communicate with God. Okay? And we need to get into the now as much as we can. Okay? And that includes meditation. Now, meditation isn't for everybody, they say. But you know what? It is for everybody. But the problem is people do it wrong. Okay? And the way to do it right is to put all of your attention into one thing. Just one. Okay? That's it. And do that for, at least 30 minutes. Okay? Meditation takes a while to sit in. It takes a while for your mind to quiet down. As you are thinking or not thinking of putting all of your attention into that one, okay? You're getting thousands of thought forms coming up, okay? And you keep having to go back to the whatever the thing is. You're breathing. The energy in your body, okay? That happens for like 15 minutes after you start meditating. That's just the way it is, okay? But once you get beyond that, then you start to feel the now, okay? And in the now, once you're in the now, then you can look at the trauma. Look at it. Not think about it, but just look at the events as they happened, okay? With fresh eyes, because you're no longer judging everything, because you're in the now. You can't judge and be in the now. It's just not possible. And how you judge yourself from a trauma is you say, I'm not good enough. That's what you say. I wasn't quick enough. I didn't dodge it, whatever. I couldn't run fast enough. So I'm not good enough. And that is part of the trauma way of making you feel bad. Okay? So, don't judge, just be in the now. And from the position of the now, you can see the event, the trauma, the actual moment of trauma. And you can also see that it wasn't you. That the trauma happened to a completely different person. Okay? That's just the way it is. I mean, I know it's hard to try and see that as the way it is, but that's just the way it is. Okay? This thing that you're remembering that is giving you pain and giving you these emotions that wreck your day isn't you. Okay? It's a memory. And that memory has been triggered by something. And you can't figure out what your trigger is until you go into the now and look. Using awareness, look at what happened. Look at how this emotion comes up and why it comes up. And you'll see that it's not what you think. Okay? That's all. Okay? I know we look back on these memories and we think it's a certain way. Most likely it's not. Okay, yes, you got hurt. Yes, you got something bad happened to you. There's no question about that. But it's not. You know? What happened, happened. But it's not you. Okay? You are a soul. And the soul is completely pure. 100%. Because God keeps it that way. I know it's hard to sort of think of yourself as not being the body that you're in. Okay? And that's because you have been programmed to believe that you are a body. Okay? And a mind. And that's what you are. Okay? And that programming was then reinforced all through the time that you've been alive. Because you think that you're in a body, you think that you are that body, but that's just not what you are. What you are is a soul. Okay, and that is the part of you that needs to awaken. Okay? And when it does awaken, then you'll start to feel stuff coming from your soul, like joy, love. And the way we can awaken it is by looking at what's going on inside of us. Okay, looking at the trauma. Or maybe it's just fear. And the fear is wrecking your life, okay? Because it keeps coming back. Right? That's what it does. Something happened to you, and now you're afraid it might happen again. Okay? Or whatever it is. But having this fear is only going to make you unhappy. We have to face the fear, just like we have to face the trauma. Okay? And look at what happened. I know it's scary. I understand that. But it's what is. And you have to be okay with what is if you want to be enlightened. That is how it is. Okay? I know that's hard, but the first step to healing the trauma is to see it as it really is. You don't know how it was. You know how it was from the perspective of a victim of trauma. That's how you think of it as. You may not think you think of it that way, but that is. You were a victim of trauma, and so you judge it based on that point of view. But there's no points of view in the now. When you're in the now, you can see what it was. And you can see that it was not what you thought it was. Not that you didn't get hurt. Of course you got hurt. I'm not saying you didn't. But you can see that it was not what you think. Okay? Because what happens is an event happens. And then we layer all sorts of thoughts and feelings on top of the event. Okay? I know that's a crazy idea that we do that, but that's what we do. Okay? And so we have layered all this stuff over on top of this event. The event was whatever it was. Okay? And now we've put these judgments and feelings and condemnation upon ourselves on top of the event. And so now it's built up in this huge mound that we can't get around. Right? And that's what it is. But that's not what it should be. It's an event that happened, and now it's gone. You shouldn't suffer from trauma from an event that happened that's gone. It's done. It's over. But we still hang on to it. We hang on to these traumas. We hang on to what happened to us. And we make it part of our story that we tell everyone. Or maybe we don't. Maybe we keep it a secret because it was too shameful. Or whatever it is. And we have to let that judgment go. However shameful you may have thought your actions were. And maybe they were. Shame is an emotion. And you can't base your life on an emotion. Right? You have to base your life on being. You are a human being. And that being part is the most important part of it. Okay? This life form, okay, which is nice and everything, and I really like having this body and these eyes and be able to taste things. That's great, right? I'm not saying it's not, okay? But it's not who you are, okay? Like, for instance, Have you ever felt that you recognize something that you've never seen before or never felt before? Something like that. People call it deja vu. Okay? And it's not what people think. You saw a black cat, then you saw another black cat. Whatever it is. That's not what it is at all. Okay? It's that you have experienced things, okay, that have touched your soul. And your soul has responded to that. And that's why you recognize or think you recognize something. And that feeling of your soul, which is a really good feeling because your soul is a conduit to God. Okay? And that's just the way it is. Now, if you don't think it's a soul, fine. I'm not saying it has to be a soul. But it is still your conduit to God because God is in the formless dimension. In order to enter the formless dimension, we have to go through the door, which is inside your heart. Okay? And that through that door, from that door, comes all the love that you've ever felt. Whether it was love for someone else or love you felt coming from you. It came through someone else's door. Okay? That's how it is. And that door is able to be entered by you. And you can go into it and feel God. That's just the way it is. Now, you can go to church and you can try to get in touch with God that way. But it's a broken system. There's only one way to really get in touch with God, and that is to accept that it's not what you think it is. Okay? That's all there is to it. And accept that God is not a father figure, okay? Or anything else, because you can't put a sex on God. He's not a mother or a father, okay? We don't even know what he is. We can't conceive of it. But the point is, it exists. And if you want to be able to feel God's love direct from God, then you have to awaken. And you do that by going into the now and looking at your life and trying to find why things happen the way they do. Not necessarily why you think the thoughts you do, but why you saw things the way you did. And that caused you to connect to those things and attach them to you. Okay? Like you have an attachment for all of your possessions. You have an attachment for the people in your life. You have attachments for psychological conditions that you have. Okay? You have an attachment to fear, an attachment to time. All these attachments are part of the trap of being a person. And we have to let them go. We have to let them all go. And the only way to let them go is by accepting that it wasn't you. You weren't the one who experienced that trauma. That person that experienced that trauma is not you. Okay? That's just the way it is. I know we think it's us. We think that we're continuous. And, that's fine. Okay? But it's not going to make you happy. And so in order to let go of these traumas, okay, or the fear or whatever else that's going on inside of you, okay, that's making you unhappy, you have to just face the trauma, face the fear, and accept. That's it. Okay? Accept the trauma. I'm not talking about making it your friend or anything like that. But accept that it is as it is. Not as you would like it to be, not as you think it is, but as it is. Okay? And once you do that, then you can let go of it. That's all there is to it. And the only way to look at the trauma, to really face it without the judgment, is to go into the now and look at what happened. Look at what really happened. Not what you think happened, not what your emotions tell you happened, but what really happened. And see if it's worth wasting the rest of your life to make it a part of you. That is what you have done. You have made the trauma a part of you. I'm not saying that that's, something that maybe you did. You definitely did. Just like when you feel depression, you make that depression a part of you, or sadness, or fear, because that's what the human person does. Okay? And you need to accept that it's not part of you, that you had nothing to do with it. You weren't making the decisions, because who was making the decisions? The ego. Okay? The ego was making decisions. Why did you go down that street? Why did you do this or that? Why did whatever happen happen? It happened because the ego wanted it to happen. That's why. Because the ego has control of you. Okay? I know that's hard to sort of realize. I mean, a lot of people have said, well, the ego is just a part of us. Okay? And maybe that's so. I don't know. But it's the part of you that doesn't care about you. Have you ever listened to your own self-talk? Have you ever listened to the thoughts in your brain? Not pay attention to them, but just listen. They're never positive, are they? No. That's because the ego is generating that talk. The ego is trying to make you unhappy, because then it has more control over you. And it can really make you do what you want, what it wants, which is either get high or low. If you're not going to get high, then you got to go low. That's the way it is. If you're not going to win, then you've got to lose. It's crazy, isn't it? It's a terrible, terrible thing, but that's the way it is. Okay, and that's what your ego is all about. And we don't even have to call it an ego. We can just call it the programming of your mind by everyone, and the conditioning. That's it. That is what is causing you unhappiness, because you have been programmed to think certain things and conditioned to accept those things. Okay? Yeah. That's what's been happening with you. Okay? And that can be broken. That can be stripped away. It's up to you. Are you willing to go into the now, to try and meditate for 30 minutes and get into the now? Putting all of your attention on one thing. And then looking at the terrible thing that happened to you. Looking at the memory without judgment, without feelings. Okay? And I guarantee you, when you do that, you'll see that it isn't or wasn't what you thought it was. Anyway, so try and understand that this world, okay, is a result of the ego. Everything in this world, the way it is, everything that's going on, the global warming, and so on and so forth, okay, are because of the egos of these people. Okay? And that's it. All right? The capitalistic system, the government, okay, is all run by everyone's ego. Okay? And the ego, like I said, wants you to fail or it wants you to succeed. There's only those two options. So, what we try and do is accept that that is the way it is. Accept that you are not doing the thinking. The thinking is being done for you. Okay? That's how it is. And the feeling is being done for you. You're the subject of the feelings. Okay? You are the victim of the feelings. Okay? You're not generating the feelings. You're not generating the feelings from your trauma. You're not generating feelings from anything else. These negative feelings, which everyone has, okay, are being generated by your programming. And the way to break the programming is going into the now. Okay? Getting in a state of higher consciousness. And anyone on earth can do this. It just takes one pointedness of mind. That's all. One pointedness of mind is all it takes. Put all of your attention on one thing. And if you do that, you will enter the now. And that's where you can look and see what it is. Look at your trauma, at your fear, at your depression, or sadness, jealousy. And then you can see the truth, and the truth will set you free. I know it's corny to say that, but that's the truth. That's the way it is. And it's as simple as that. As long as you continue to be stuck in the person that has programming, okay, then you won't be able to look at yourself and know what went on. Because in order to get into the now, you have to accept that it's not you. Well, you don't have to, but it helps. Anyway, all of it is all about just accepting, okay? And this trauma is like a stumbling block on the path of awakening. And if you do not, deal with it in a healthy way, like going into the now, looking at it, realizing what it was, okay, then it's going to keep coming. It's not going to stop, okay? Because the programming doesn't want it to stop, okay? The programming wants everything the way it is, okay? So, try and remember who you are. I know it's hard to realize that you're not that beautiful body and that beautiful mind and so on and so forth. Okay? We have been so inculcated in this physicality, okay? In a way, it's crazy to think that, but that's the way it is. Okay? I am not this body. I am not this face. Okay? This is just the outer shell of the inner being. Okay? And this shell will eventually die or drop. Okay? And so that will be it. And so, but this spirit, this soul, this awareness will not die, cannot die, because it is life. And that is true of everything else that's alive. The life form dies, but the life, the thing that made the life happen, that is the soul. and that cannot die. So, I know it's hard to look at things in the way I've outlined, but it's what you have to do. I love you all because you're me, and because we're all one. We're all one thing. Your suffering is my suffering. My love is your love. My joy is your joy. And all of that love and joy and happiness comes from God. Not the God of the religious hierarchy, because that's just a story. But God as he really is, the unknowable, the inconceivable, in the formless dimension. All right, well, clock on the wall's telling me it's time I should go. I really enjoyed talking to you. If you have any questions or comments about anything that I've said or anything else, I'm happy to hear them. Or if you want to share this video to someone else, I would love that too, because everyone who gets access to this is going to be better off. At least that's what I'm hoping. Anyway, well, I'm going to go then. I love you all because you're all part of me. Because I am not just this body. I am everything. And so are you. Have a great day and a great life.